Good afternoon, everyone. It is David Schlotthauer here, and welcome back to another detailed tropical weather outlook and discussion for Sunday, July 13th, 2025. In this tropical weather update, I'm going to give you the very latest detailed information on a tropical weather disturbance that is developing just to the east of Florida. This has certainly a concern of becoming our next named storm as it moves into the central and northern Gulf over the next 3 to 6 days. So in this tropical weather update, I will be breaking down all those details as far as rainfall totals, where and when the heaviest rain will impact your area, and how strong will the winds actually get. Now, if you haven't been here before and you do find these detailed tropical weather outlook and discussions very helpful, detailed, and informative, please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the bell notification icon to get all notifications, especially when we go live on a tropical storm or hurricane within 24 hours before making landfall, especially in the United States. This is again the time to subscribe, share, and like this video because we will be breaking down a lot of details over the next several days on this tropical disturbance. Now, with that being said, here's a look at the latest GOES 19 true color visible satellite imagery provided by Dr. Levi Cowan at tropicaltidbits.com. There will be a link in the description below this video. And as we can see this afternoon, there is definitely an area of disturbed weather off the Florida coast, just to the north of Great Abaco in the Bahamas, including for the Carolinas as well as Georgia. You can see the percolating convection here on the visible satellite imagery, indicating that the air mass here is quite disturbed. We have cooler air aloft, overhead or overspreading a very warm, moist boundary layer. We can see this even closer in on the imagery. Take note here that we have a lot of deep convection here. And then, of course, if you look very closely, we even have hints of westerly flow here. So there is definitely an area of low pressure trying to form underneath where all this thunderstorm activity is happening, and then some flow is even wrapping a little bit around out of the easterly direction. So for one thing, we definitely have an open wave here more than likely occurring, and this is going to continue to move a little further south, then over across central Orlando, and then out eventually into the northern portion there of the Gulf over the next 1 to 3 days before it has a better opportunity of potentially organizing even further. And we can clearly see what the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida is thinking over the next 7 days here on their tropical weather outlook, highlighting an area to watch. So this is a 20% chance over the next 7 days. And of course, I always like reading these out to you all. We're going to also zoom in on this so you could read along with me. So this is again for the northeastern Gulf. A trough of low pressure near the southeastern United States coast is expected to move westward across the Florida during the next day or so and into the northeastern Gulf by Tuesday. Environmental conditions could support some gradual tropical development of this system during the middle to the latter part of this week while it moves westward over the northeastern and the north central portions of the Gulf. Regardless of development, very heavy rainfall could produce localized flash flooding over portions of Florida and the north central portions of the Gulf Coast through the middle to the latter part of this week. So again, regardless of development, if this is going to become a tropical storm or if it's not going to become a tropical storm, we are looking at certainly some really heavy rainfall with this tropical disturbance. And that is why the NHC has this whole area here highlighted with a 20% chance of tropical development in the next 7 days. Now, because of how delicate and serious of a situation this actually might end up being over the course of the next 7 days, we are getting as many global computer models involved as we can possible, because that is a way of me telling you all that I want to be honest, I want to be truthful here, and I want to be realistic with my predictions. So the first model we're going to start looking at here is the GFS, and then we'll look at the Euro, then we're going to look at the artificial intelligence Euro model, the Canadian model, the ICON model, and even the NAM 12-kilometer model. Yeah, you're getting even a high-res model involved with this. So looking at the GFS here, looking at the vorticity plot, color shading indicates here where there is spin. Wind barbs indicate which way the wind is blowing from and how strong it is. And of course, our height lines tell us where there is higher pressure surrounding a trough of lower pressure, if that makes sense. And you barely see any heights here in the first place. So we're just going to jump straight into this because this is pretty concerning and quite delicate at the same time. So for tomorrow morning here on the GFS model, this is for your Monday, July the 14th. And a lot of people are going to be waking up, headed to work, and you're going to probably get quite a bit of rainfall out of this for sure. And there is our tropical disturbance. You can definitely see there is a low level circulation here. And this is the area that everyone is basically festering with and very concerned, because as it gets into the Gulf, a lot could happen. And let's hope it doesn't happen, because we saw it with Milton, right? Literally, Milton started off something like this, and then it just festered and became big, monstrous, one of the biggest, most strongest hurricanes ever in the Gulf. Yeah, let's just put it that way. So by tomorrow afternoon here on the 14th, there is our tropical disturbance. We will have to keep an eye on how this deep convection evolves over Florida, because sometimes this could actually help develop a surface low and it persisting once it gets into the Gulf. And that is how you can spark activity into a well-defined surface low. But here is the wave axis here, and here is the thunderstorm activity happening in Florida. And then moving forward here, you can see how that develops. And it doesn't do much here on the GFS. But please take note here that what I'm about to show you will clearly define that, okay, the GFS is one model. We'll be looking at different models and ensembles included with today's video. So you can see a little bit of vorticity here, a bit better vorticity there. So we got these lobes of spin, and you know how models handle those, especially the GFS. Sometimes the GFS goes a little crazy and sometimes it doesn't. But either way, this is going to bring quite a bit of rainfall and some gusty winds for the Big Bend of Florida, for the southern portion of, say, Mississippi, Alabama, like Mobile, Alabama. If you are in, say, say if you're in New Orleans, if you're in Cameron, Gonzales, Louisiana, this is for you. And yes, I am even going to include here with Houston in the realm of possibilities. Okay, so that's the GFS model, and this is through the next 5 days. So keep in mind, this is not a hypo forecast. This is not a Fantasyland model at all this far out. It's literally within the realm of possibility. Looking at the European model here, this is the deterministic forecast. And again, same plot here. We are looking basically again at 850 millibars, the cyclonic relative vorticity chart. And look what happens. Again, pretty broad here with the euro, and sometimes the euro is sometimes too conservative in this point, because again, what I'm about to show you will clearly say, oh, okay, euro. But this is pretty broad in nature, but broad systems are not always the systems that don't produce nothing. This system is going to produce quite a bit of heavy rainfall and some flood concerns. In fact, there is a slight risk for flooding in central and southern Florida because of this disturbance. Even so, it is not a hurricane. It's not a tropical storm. This is going to bring impacts, especially across central and southern Florida. Orlando, Florida, Tampa, Florida, Sarasota, Florida, Cape Coral, Florida, Miami, Florida, Key West even involved with this, Delray Beach. Just have to be aware, Jacksonville, Florida, even Tallahassee is going to get in on a lot of rainfall and some flood concerns with this. And then, of course, this gets into the Gulf, and the euro doesn't do much with it versus, just like the GFS model. So these two main global models, really not excited about it at all. Now let's get back to tropical tidbits, because now we're looking at our third global computer model. This is the European Artificial Intelligence Forecasting System, or AFIS. Okay, why do I say AFIS? I just say it because it makes a little bit A than ifs, in other words. So this is the European AFIS model, and this, and as we put this into motion over the next 2 days, this is for Tuesday morning, or July 15th, and that's a little bit more prominent than what the Euro was showing, than what the GFS was showing. Very uniform as well. So this is definitely a notable disturbance moving over Central Florida, bringing a lot of impactful weather, and then eventually it moves off the Gulf, and it actually wants to bundle it up a little bit tighter with a closed ISO line. See that at 850 millibars, which tells us this is definitely worth watching, worth noting in this video that this could end up being a tropical depression. And if I want to base my predictions off of one model, this could have a much higher ceiling than what the first three models are showing. Even the Canadian, I'll show you that here in a second. But this seems to be hitting Louisiana, or perhaps even say Mississippi, and even for far eastern Texas. So this window right in here definitely needs to be watching this, but of course in Central Florida, because this thing is going to retrograde and kind of do something like that. So now let's take a look now at our Canadian model. This is another model that I like to use, and you can see definitely a footprint there of stronger spin. What does it do? Well, let's put this into motion. It broadens out a little bit, but here's a little bit of a catch. Which one wins the battle? Does the northern end of vorticity try to wrap all the way around as this down here tries to win out and tries to wrap up shear? That is going to be something to monitor in future model runs, because yeah, this is a bit of a Fujiwara effect that the Canadian model is indicating here in our low-level vorticity plot, and that's why I like using this three-plot system for a reason, because it gives us a pretty good idea with what we're dealing with here. And you can see two distinct plots of vorticity or spin. I mean, because of the direction of travel, this one would tend to more than likely try to wrap underneath, and this one becomes the more dominant one, because if this is much further south and then it turns like this and hits Texas, this has about 2 days over the Gulf, more than enough for intensification and strengthening to actually occur. Now, as we put this into motion even further, the northern lobe actually becomes the more dominant feature, which is being seen in different models like the Euro and the GFS as well, and including the artificial intelligence. And you can see here on the Canadian, this ends up becoming a tropical depression on approach here to Mobile, Alabama, and southernmost Mississippi, as well as very close here of New Orleans, Louisiana. Okay, so there has been a consensus here that this area there's a strike area that we will have to watch. Now, our fifth model run, or our fifth different model that we need to use here, is the icon. There's been a lot of posts on X, including myself, have made a couple of posts on this because this is quite concerning. All right, and I don't like using that word in this video. All right, I don't want to be, I don't want to hype up things. I don't want to panic or fear monger or anything, but my gosh, the icon model has been very, very consistent on what I'm about to show you. And the initialization is quite accurate with our satellite data that I showed you too. So the icon, it may be onto something, and that's why we really got to watch this. So let me make my cursor a little bit bigger here so you all can see even better. So there's our tropical disturbance here in about 27 hours, right? It doesn't do much, okay? It's, oh boy, my mouse got too big there. There we go. So as we put this into motion here over the next couple of days, you can see that the system really doesn't develop much. It gets a little bit more better organized with winds of about 10 to 15 knots or so, maybe getting close to 20 knots. And then it doesn't do much, right? And we're like, okay, it's not going to be a big problem at all. Good. That's very good news, right? You would think twice that, okay, what's going on, David? You're telling us the icon has been super aggressive. Wait until you see this. So this comes off of Florida by Tuesday night on the 15th of July. Okay, again, Tuesday night, the 15th of July, 60 hours out. And look what happens. This thing really, really blows up. All right. People on Discord have messaged me about this. I'm like, David, did you see the latest icon model? It's very aggressive here. And I said, I'm going to take a look at it. And I'm like, Whoa, they are not joking around when they mean, did you see the icon model? Yeah, because this is showing winds here of around 20 to 30 knots, which is in the realm of a tropical depression intensity. Central pressure supports it as well. This is 4 days out. I want to make it clear. Look at my 4 fingers here on the camera. 4 days out. So this is in the realm of possibility. And then look what happens. This thing really takes off. I mean, it really strengthens up as it continues to move off in this general direction. I wish I could even zoom in here. I don't think I can zoom in any closer. That is a very strong system, okay? And this is 5 days out. This is Friday morning on the 18th of July, and that is a look at hurricane force winds, 64 knot winds here on the eastern quadrant. Not all the way around, but there is definitely some hurricane force winds that shape up with this, what this model is actually showing, which is definitely concerning, okay, considering with what we're looking at here. So now, as we move this even forward, it strengthens even further a little bit. Look at this, down to, that's 967 millibars, 9 something. Yeah, it's in the 960s, just beyond the 5-day mark as it approaches Cameron, Louisiana, right on the border there, state line of Louisiana and Texas, impacting even directly over Houston, Texas. All right. Now, the concerning aspect to this model is the fact it's been so consistent. And I am going to show you clear proof, folks, okay? I'm not going to hide anything in these videos that I'm showing you here. So let's go to the 0Z run, because is actually, can we run the, yeah, okay, we can show you the 06Z run. That's one model run ago. Let's go to the 0Z run from last night. Look at how consistent this actually has been. Let's go to our 18Z run. Not, it's still there. It's a lot weaker. Okay, and then our 12Z run, showing us a more broader setup like what our other models are showing. So it is interesting to me that we have seen an uptrend here in all of these runs over the last day. This is the last, let's see, 5 or 6 model runs here, quite consistently showing that. And as we go to the 06Z run from last night, it shows that at the exact time. And now look at this. It's a little weaker, but it also gets stronger closer to Louisiana and Texas. So this is worth mentioning in this video because it has been so consistent. And if that wasn't enough, let's take a look here at the NAM 12 kilometer model. This is a semi high resolution model that goes all the way out to 84 hours. So just kind of inside the window here of some of our global computer models that go out beyond that point. So there is some fidelity here. So rolling this through over the next, let's go out to 24 hours. So this is for tomorrow morning. You can see our tropical disturbance. Please take note of that. This is similar to how the icon initializes the system. It's all about initialization. And then look at it retrogrades and goes right directly over Orlando, Florida, Tampa Bay, Cape Coral, Sarasota Beach, as well as Key West. We got a nice good feeder band in here. So definitely some heavy rainfall, some thunderstorms, some gusty winds associated with that. Wouldn't be surprised if we see water spouts and tornadoes as well associated with this too. And then look what happens. The system organizes just like what? Just like what? Man, look at the consistency, by the way. So this is 0Z Wednesday. They are really matched up pretty darn well. So that is why there is some fidelity with our icon model. Okay, maybe the other models have not picked up on it based on the initialization because this thing is pretty disheveled right now. But once things get more organized or this system gets, I think we're going to definitely see other models kind of catch on to the icon and 12 kilometer NAM. Now, as far as rainfall goes here on the forecast, we can see definitely some moderate to heavy rainfall that is anticipated throughout the day Tuesday over much of Florida, actually beginning perhaps through tomorrow. So lots of showers, lots of thunderstorms. You're seeing some of that today. There's going to be more widespread showers and thunderstorms tomorrow, and that's going to be the theme going all the way throughout the day on Tuesday. So stormy days coming up for both Monday and Tuesday over a good chunk of Florida. And then by Wednesday morning, things taper off a little bit as most of the disturbed weather moves offshore into the Gulf. However, some inflow banding features may bring in a little bit of enhanced rainfall in around, say, Lake Okeechobee, over, say, Delray Beach, Miami, Florida. If you're in Tampa Bay, Florida, some of these little city or some of these bigger cities, some of the smaller towns do get some of the heavier rainfall there. And then let's move forward with this, and you can see lots of, like, look at this. I mean, this is very, very asymmetrical, by the way. So this is, I mean, I'm even surprised it's showing hurricane intensity when there is not a closed eyewall here. So maybe the icon is overdoing it a little bit. That's why I'm not very confident at all that this is actually going to become a hurricane, maybe a low-grade tropical storm with winds of maybe 40 miles an hour at the very most. But I mean, that's even a bit high in my regard with what I'm seeing here, because it's really only two models that are picking this up very aggressively. We will have to just wait and see what the other models do. But wow, what a rain machine this thing is going to be. And luckily, it is going to be hopefully far enough offshore where it doesn't do much damage to Mississippi and, say, in Alabama. But look at where it goes. It goes right directly into Houston, Texas by Saturday. And boy, if this actually verifies, it's going to be bad. It could be quite devastating. So that's why we are going to need to watch future model runs on how this actually pans out. Looking at those rainfall totals here on the national blend of models here, this is basically the super blend, and we can see rainfall totals across much of Florida, anywhere between 3 to 5 inches. Some isolated pockets here, locally up to 5 to almost 5.5 inches. And then down here in southern Louisiana, southern Alabama, and Mississippi, you're looking at around 2 to 4 to maybe 5 inches of rainfall over the course. Let's back it up a little bit. Over the course of about 7 days. There we go. More like that 3 to 5 inch mark there in Florida, and 2 to 4 inch mark in southern Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. Now, regardless of how much rainfall or how strong this actually gets, please don't focus so much on intensity here, because as you know, this is a very wet system. There's a lot of moisture to work with here, especially off the Gulf, and it only takes one little feeder band that just stays right in place for a long period of time. You can get extreme amounts of rainfall totals in a rather short amount of time. So please keep that in mind. Now, onto our ensembles here. This is the GEFS ensemble. There's definitely a signal here for tropical development here over the northeastern and north central Gulf. Now, there are a couple of models here, especially one moving into, say, Cameron, Louisiana. Maybe I'm off by a little bit on that. And then there's another model right here that this is an outlier for sure, but both of these members do show winds of at least 30 to 35 knots. So that would be very close or at tropical storm intensity, but the majority of these models right now are under that. So that's good news. But remember, I bet you a lot that by late tonight or by tomorrow, once aircraft, supposedly there's going to be a recon mission flying into this by tomorrow morning, somewhere rather, or tomorrow afternoon. That should hopefully help these models out a lot and their ensembles, and we should see better agreement on whether or not this is going to be a significant threat to the northern Gulf, such as Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and the Big Bend here and the panhandle of Florida. There's not much of a signal here on the European ensemble, which is a bit surprising given the fact that The majority of the deterministic models are showing at least a slight amount of development out here in the North Central Gulf. But anyways, if you did find this detailed tropical weather outlook and discussion very helpful, detailed, and informative, especially on our tropical disturbance that is rapidly evolving off the coast of Florida, we're going to be watching this over the next 3 to 6 days here on this YouTube channel. So if you haven't been here before and you do like these tropical weather updates on a daily basis, please don't forget to subscribe. Also, don't forget to hit the bell notification icon to get all of my notifications and updates here, especially when I go live within 24 to 36 hours before a landfalling tropical storm or hurricane impacting anywhere here in the United States, even in the Bahamas, as well as the deep tropics here of the Caribbean. So if you're new and you like these updates, this is the time to subscribe, please, to help show your awesome support. And please share this with your family and friends on social media. But otherwise, I will have another update on this possibly for tomorrow morning, depending on how models trend throughout the day today.